We're going to jump into our lesson training for today. I was inspired by Lynette Pearson's question on editing your email template. So I thought we could all talk about it. I would imagine some folks might even have some edits already applied to their template, so we could even talk about those too. So before I jump in, did anybody have any questions about that?
I have a question. I just want to thank you for putting the articles in for the LWVUS.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Thank you. That's really nice. We just had the LWVUS just had a meeting, Zoom meeting for media and press, and I'm just thinking that now is a really good time to get a lot of word out. And anything that we can automatically feed, of course, saves us a lot of work. So thank you very much.
For sure. That was definitely a big collaboration between our team at Cheppers for our sites, and then the team at LWVUS, their kind of digital services team. So we appreciate their heavy lifting and work on that. And yeah, and they look great. So we're happy to hear that y'all are loving them as much as I do. Okay, great. So I'm going to jump to the form. I think, yeah, I was working with this one here. So again, the email template edits that we're going to be talking about can be applied to any type of form. This one here is a contact type of form, but you can apply it to your membership forms, interest forms, whatever other kind of submissions you're trying to get. So I'll show you first what it looks like from the back end. So we first need to get to the web forms tab and open up the email, then open up the emails tab. Right now I'm just working with this one here. So I'm going to edit just that one. And the template is down at the very bottom. So it looks like a lot of wild stuff, but I think I have a copy of that one. There we go. Yeah. Well, why don't we actually just submit it? Because I have this one here, but I think this one is a little different. This is kind of the idea. The way I have the template set up now, I believe the logo is centered. So that's really the main difference, I guess. But I've set it up so that I've typed in. It's a static message. It's always going to say, thanks for your message to the League of Women Voters demo site. The next line is a combo of what I've typed in plus tokens. And last time we talked about tokens, they are variables. So they're like a placeholder, and they are, these specific ones are tokens that are for the submission values. So the token is waiting for the submission to be received, then it knows exactly what the value is. It might be helpful if I put them side by side here.
Can you increase the fonts? Oops.
This
font
one
size?
on the email?
Yeah, that. So what you're right on top of right now. It's very tiny.
Yes, I can zoom here.
Thank you.
Yes. Let's see, is 200 too big?
Oh, much better.
Is that better? Okay. Okay.
I'm going to get that because I can still see the code under there.
I can hear you, but in a bit muffled.
Oh, okay. Let me try and see if my speaker. I can fix my speaker. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay. So just to kind of try and show it side by side. So I have made use of a table here. The table is actually encompassing the entire message that I have. And then within the table, I've made rows. So this top row is what I was talking about. And this line here, your message was sent to our leagues. That word treasure is the token placeholder. So that is what it looks like here. Send my message to. And we'll actually be building this up again. So I just wanted to show kind of what we're going to be making, and then we'll recreate it. And then as we go down here, your details is what I've typed in. I think here I actually just have here is a copy of your message. And then I'm using paragraph and line breaks. And then your message, subject, and your message, those are both typed in with the value of the actual subject and the actual message being tokens as well. So these are not only based on the tokens that are provided by the system, but the tail end of them where it says message, subject, and then this other one, send my message to, it goes on to 2. Those portions of the token are taken from my specific web form. If we go to view publish, that's specifically taken from just this web form. And then
Do you really mean to have ULs instead of LIs? Making each of those do you see that?
oh yeah, no, I did mean to have the LIs. I think this is an older version of my HTML, but yes, that would be LIs instead. So we'll actually build that part correctly when we recreate this. Good catch. And then there's just this last, or we reuse the token again of send my message to whatever that submission value is. It's going to fill that in. And then the other one here is, I think your email is the question. And so I had filled in my Gmail. And then we have a couple more rows, one row for thank you, and then the last row being for the logo. And I had added a link on top of the logo so that it sends a person to the League of Women Voters demo site homepage. So it's pretty basic as far as an email template goes, but it does kind of vamp up what you're given in MyLO. So let's go ahead and I'm going to go back to emails. And instead of cloning, I am just going to start from scratch here. So it might be helpful to have my form components open, being that the tokens we need to use our own web form to help build some of those. The form components, it's the form keys that we're going to be needing for that portion. So, okay, I'm going to go ahead and, like I said, create a new one for the person to, or the recipient should be your email, being that your email is the form filler's email. We could also set it up to be going to like an admin person. That may change what you want to include, especially if they have MyLO access. Then you might want to have the link to the submission. So I'm going to go ahead and add. Again, we're told what the email to address is, and it's going to be the variable of your email. Enable sending is already checked. And then the email subject and email from address we can customize, or if you had a component that went with that, then you could so choose. But I am just going to call this, here's a copy of your recent submission. And I'll leave the default. But again, whatever you put in the custom, that's what's going to show up instead for the person receiving. Okay, and now we're down to the email template. Whether you're going to make changes or not, you don't have to change it from custom or default. They are the same template regardless. And so you'll notice that we simply have just a paragraph, breaks, and different tokens. You've probably seen these before, but if you haven't, feel free to make that happen. I don't know if I have just a generic one since I started making changes. Let's see. No, okay, sorry. So what we can do is swap out some of these tokens if you do want to keep some of this information that's in there, but you want it to be presented in a different format. Like for example, the submitted on line, this date token is going to say, I think, the day of the week. Here's an example. So it lists the day of the week, the date, and the time. And maybe you do want some information like that, but you just want the date. You can look through the tokens to find that type of line. And then, especially in the context of this email, we're thinking of this is an outsider to or an outsider of your organization. They're not a leader as far as having access to your website. So there's a couple of lines in here that may just not be useful to them. The submitted by user line may just be empty. Usually if the person is not either already a member or if they're not an editor of your site, that's just going to be empty for them. So we could simply get rid of that. And then this other, this chunk of stuff down here, the results of the submission may be viewed at, and then we have the link to the results tab. And it is only available to those with editing access to your site. So they would need a MyLO account and editing access. So again, this is probably not useful to the user, may be useful to your admin person receiving it. But let's go ahead and play around with the token kind of window that pops up. Like I said, I'm going to try to find a submission completed date that is shorter than that long string. So we click browse available tokens. Wherever tokens are available, that link is going to appear. And this window does take some time to load. I would just probably advise, if you have a lot of programs open before it, maybe close some of them up to allow this window to load fully and properly. And once it loads completely, it kind of scrunches down to that, and then you can move it around. I would advise to move it up as much as you can, since we're going to open up the submissions here. For me, I have to put my cursor all the way to the left, kind of on that caret. And that opens it up there. Okay. So here we have the submission completed date, and that's what we were actually looking at. And this has popped up for me. I probably have quite a few programs open myself. I'm going to just go ahead and wait. Hopefully it doesn't crash my browser there. Let me go ahead and close some stuff up. Sorry. Okay. Okay. So it actually looks like we can just remove the word long and the, colons preceding it, since this is the token that we're using here. I'm gonna go ahead and just close. No, it looks like it did freeze up on me. Okay, so I'm gonna refresh. I did at least take note. We'll go ahead and exit the page, I guess. Okay, definitely a little too much for my computer. But like I said, if you are planning to open up those tokens, just close those windows down beforehand. But with this, oops, sorry. With this being that we're mostly talking about the tokens of, what the person submitted, your name, it depends on what they submitted for that. Your email, it depends on what they submitted for that. All of these tokens that we're going to be working with are just having to do with the submission values. So we can use that to kind of cheat and make it easier. We don't have to open that token menu at this point. So being that like I said, we saw that this was the standalone token by itself, and it looks like the word long was kind of an attribute that makes it a bit different. We're just going to remove long. I didn't get an explanation of what the long attribute does, but I'm assuming that's probably what actually adds on the time and the day of the week. Okay, and so I'm going to apply the same changes we had earlier. I had removed the user, submitted user line, and then the results line. Okay, and so now, again, I'm going to open up my form component since I'm going to be referencing those. So right now, excuse me, the submitted values are, that token represents everything on your form. So right now I only have, actually I'm going to open up a third tab. So we're going to reference my form as well, the actual published form. So right now I have a question of send my message to your name, your email, subject, and message. So I have those 5 questions. And if I leave my form as such, then we're going to see each pair. So we're going to see send my message to colon, and then whatever my selection would be, your name colon, and then whatever the response is. Being that every single one of these questions is required, we're always going to see a response. But if you do have a question or a form component, as we call it in MyLO, if you have one that isn't required and somebody doesn't provide a response, you're still going to see the submission value, or I'm sorry, you're still going to see the question. Although there's no submission value for that, you're still going to see the question. So what you can do, if you do want to, parse out pieces of your form, let's say that, again, we're just sending this back to the person who filled it out. If we only want to include a copy of their subject and message, they probably don't even need to see their name and email listed in there, so that it's not just a repeat of what they just submitted. And we can have a little bit more control over how that information displays rather than being a kind of a block of information where it's just listed. So to do that, if I want to start out, let's say, actually I think the message subject, that's what I had started with. So I want the subject. We're looking at the form keys because those are relevant to tokens. Anytime we're talking about a token for submission values, the form key is what you're going to be using to just isolate the value of that question. So now this token submission values subject, it is going to display my question, subject, colon, and then whatever I put in as my subject. So it would say subject, voter registration. And right now I'm just building kind of, the formatting will come after this. I'm just building the tokens, whoops, for now. So I'm just going to make easy work. Instead of retyping, I'm just going to copy and paste. So since I put in subject, I am going to then instead for the second one, I think it's message. Yeah, simply message. And so again, these are the form keys I have for my own. Yours may be different. Your label may be, what is your question? And then your form key would be longer. But you also should know that, let's see. I don't want to mess up a token that I already have set up, but let's just use this one for example. I could edit this form key to be shorter. The only thing is that you cannot have any duplicates. So I can't use message because I already have another one using this form key. So I could say message in instruction. That stands for instruction. And just make sure that you do not use any spaces. So underscores are recommended. Okay, so let's go back. So we're changing subject to message. And this line here, this will be easy to change since it's just changing the text. You probably make it sound a little bit user friendly. Something simple. And let's see. Okay, and then as far as the other kind of other places where I use the tokens, those were used within a sentence. So let's try and recreate those. Okay. So that we'll want to place maybe at the top. And again, I'm just adding in, we'll add the formatting in at the end. Thank you for your message. It was sent to our, and again, I am just going to make my life easier and copy the beginning portion because again, we're just talking about the submission value because they contacted specifically or want to contact specifically either the president, vice president, treasurer, or secretary. So that is for send my message to. And so now that is always going to represent one of those 4 options. And maybe instead of the submitted line, it'll read, it was sent to our, fill in the blank on such date. So I have kind of bare bones so far. I think before I add anything else, when it comes to how we've built up these tokens, it is actually only going to represent the answer. So the value that was submitted. I think I was explaining it incorrectly at first. So let's say the subject or the token for subject, it actually isn't going to show the label itself. It's only going to show what my response was. So in this case, if you do want to show the label, you can go ahead and add in that token. I do believe that, let's see, I think that it is going to be label. But another way to do it is to just add the static text. I am going to add the static text since I do want to change it from being just simply subject and simply message to your subject and your message. And I'll add a space. Okay. So far we just have that paragraph break as the formatting. And then, oh, I did have one other line as far as where we used the tokens, just to specify, you know, our treasurer is going to email you at whatever email address they provided. So our, and that being the exact same token that I need to use. We'll fill in there. Our treasurer will reach out to you as soon as possible at, and I'm just going to paste in the previous token, but we need to remove the last end, the last portion. Swap out send my message to for your email. Okay. And then I guess the last bit would be to add the logo. Yeah, and then I'll start the formatting. Any questions so far?
How does, when you choose pull down, how does the MyLO know what the address of the treasurer is?
Ah, yes, that's a good question. Let's take a pause on this template and I'll jump over to that. So I'm going to save what we have so far. This is definitely not completed because it would look crazy in the email. But as far as setting that up, it's actually going to be here on the emails tab. So the component value at this time, we would set it to send my message to. As soon as we click add, we're going to see this screen a bit different. With each option, you're going to have the ability to add an email. So it could be different for each option.
So how did you get to that page, this screen?
So I went to emails first.
Yeah.
So the first step before even doing that was adding the form component that is set the select options type. That is, you know, send my message to. So I start out with that, having that form component created. Then I go over to the emails tab. And here in a new, you know, adding a new one, I choose component value and make sure that it's send my message to. That's the select options question that I have. Oops. And then as soon as I add, that's when we see the different, the table of email addresses you can add.
Okay.
And actually, even as soon as you change it from custom to that component, the fact that it's a select options, it immediately changes for you.
Maurice,
Mhm.
where did those options, are those just default options?
Those are options that I had added. So in the form components, when I created this first one here, send my message to, I added those 4.
Oh, okay, okay.
And I can just keep adding.
Like we have membership as one of ours.
And you can have as many as you'd like, as many options as you add. Once you save your component, once you go to the emails tab, it will have that many, you know, email, or what would you call it, options. They match the number of email addresses you can add.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so that's definitely the best way if you have multiple emails and you don't want them to show up for folks. I'm gonna just leave that empty for now. But it's just the same as any other. Those were just the email recipients that you would fill in. And then once you go down, it was the subject and, you know, email from address, the usual stuff. Okay, so coming back to the one that we were working with. So far we just have really the message. So now I wanted to add the logo. The first thing that you need to do is make sure it's uploaded online. It's easiest to just have it uploaded to your MyLO site. It doesn't have to be displaying anywhere. It just has to be uploaded to MyLO. So let me get to manage files. Yep. All right, so I already have a couple of files uploaded. And I think we're probably all pretty familiar with the process of adding a new file. It's pretty straightforward. It's just as any other time adding in the new file. You could do it from manage files since you don't have to insert it into any page or anywhere into your site to display. And then once you finish adding the new file from here, you would get spit back here. And then you would see your picture at the top of your list. And then if that's the case, then what you want to do to get the proper URL is to click on that image, either the image or the link at the top of it. It's going to bring you to this page. You then want to either right click and copy link, or you can open it up and be certain that this is the image and that's the link you want to copy. The other way of knowing that you're copying the right link is that it says .jpeg, .png. As long as it has that dot and then the file ending, you know that it's the right one. You'll notice that this one here doesn't have that dot before JPEG. It just goes, you know, / LWVCA RGB JPG. So we know that that's just going to send folks to this page and nobody wants to look at this. So I'm copying this here. And okay, yeah, it's not cut off. It's just a rather large image. So I'm going to kind of build it out by parts. So I'm dropping in the URL, but we do need to add the HTML tags to make it display as an image. So that's going to be open_img. And we have to tell the image where to pull, or we have to tell where to pull this image file from. So that is represented by src for source. So img space src and equals, and we open quotes. So the URL is going to go within the quotes. And we can close that. So when it comes to an image tag, an image HTML tag, it doesn't need a closing tag. It is just a standalone. Although, now that I've added that, I do want to specify its size. The reason I say that is because most of the time it is, well, I think all the time, it's going to be responsive and respond to whatever screen it's being viewed on. So we want to prevent that and try and go with a, you know, a good size for most any screen. I don't know what I ended up looking up as far as how to figure it out for the demo that I created. I ended up going with a width of 384 and a height of 71. I know how I calculated that, but I'm not sure exactly why I chose that width. I think, yeah, I'm not too sure. I think that it did work on my mobile when I viewed it as well on, you know, on my Outlook app and my Gmail app. But I'm just trying to think of a smart reason why I did that. But you may tweak the size to see what works best for you. But what I ended up working with to calculate it was an aspect ratio calculator. The reason being that we want our logo to still present in the same dimensions or in the same aspect, regardless of the actual dimensions or pixels that it's rendering in. So I used aspect ratio from Andrew Hedges. I think there's another one. Let's see, was aspect ratio calculator another one? But really, aspect ratio calculator was what I had typed in, and most any of these are pretty helpful. And I will definitely, I have a Google Doc that I'm referencing, and I'm going to turn this into an update into our Google group somehow. So I just want to write aspect ratio calculator so I don't forget. Okay. So yeah, this was the one I used, but again, most of them are going to present this way, where it has a width and a height for one set of values for width and height that you will provide, and then the width and height for a second set, and then either you provide the new width or the new height, and then it calculates the other to keep the same aspect. So I am cheating because I have the size here. I believe it's part of the file name. But if you don't have the dimensions readily available, I don't believe that they show up like in your photos program. No, it just shows you the actual overall file size. But what you could do, and I think I probably did that for this one, you could go to Canva and see what the file size is. That will give you, you know, the heads up you need. But I'm going to go ahead and type in what I have. So 7747 and 1470. Let's just see if I put 400. So I have 476. And that is keeping us true to the exact kind of look that it had. And now I'm getting confused on which tab I was on. Okay, so I do want to keep that one open. I'm going to close this other aspect ratio calculator. There we go. Okay, so I'm back to my image here. When it comes to the width and height, it is simply just typing in those words width, and we always end that with a equal sign and open the quotes. We only need to type in the number when we're talking about pixels here. If we were talking about a percentage, we could do that too, but it's not recommended for images to use percentage as far as width or height. And then the same thing for height. We type out the word equal sign, open quote. I think that was 76. Yes. And 76 and close those quotes. Okay, so far we have just this. I'm just gonna add breaks where I added, you know, where I pressed enter with my own keyboard. These are simple line breaks that don't have any padding underneath them. So it's just going to be right under it without any like paragraph padding under the line above. And I'm just doing this so that we can test out what we have so far. And actually, even if I leave those spaces, we're going to see that it doesn't make a difference. Okay, so let's save that. Any questions so far?
No, this is excellent.
Awesome. Okay, so let's test this out. I want to talk to the president, vice president. That's fine. And I want to talk about voter registration. Please help me, voters. Thank you. All right. And that should not take long at all. Oh, it already arrived. Okay, I don't know why it didn't pop up on my screen. All right, so this is what we have so far. Let me zoom that in. So by default, all the text is always going to be left justified. But we see that our tokens are working. Okay, so it looks like the date, just regular, is going to have the time and date. So the long has the day of the week added, and then there is another option of, in place of the word long, we could have added short. And I do believe that is probably what we were going for with just showing the date. But then we do have our line breaks. Oh, and it looks like they do present as paragraph breaks here. I wonder if it will look any different. Well, actually, let's resubmit it. I'm going to use my Gmail because I do want us to be able to see it from, oops, from two different places here. So I do want us to continue to compare. I'm just putting gibberish. And I'll open my Gmail here off to the side. Okay. Whoops, nope, that's not the one. No. I'm getting this, but this is not what we, oh yeah, it is. Oh, I think, I'm not sure why it is all so beautifully formatted. Copy the message. No, I think this might be an old message here. That is quite odd. Oh, here we go. Okay, this is what we're looking for. I think I am getting two different messages to my Gmail here. Okay, so this is what it's going to look like in Gmail. And it looks like this in Outlook. So let's try and put these a little, whoops, side by side. The line breaks were taken as paragraph breaks in both. They do look pretty similar. So I've seen on online, like the articles that I've read about setting up emails in HTML. They always recommend testing out in as many different email programs as you can. You know, whether it's testing out in mobile and desktop, any different kinds that you can, and different providers. But we can see here that Google and Outlook are fairly similar so far as to how they're rendering the message. So we can just keep going.
Amaris, why is the font different?
That is based on the email provider's
Okay.
font. So we can override that by specifying a font. But right now it just we don't have that.
Okay.
But you can use there's an attribute styles attribute that you can tack on, and we can play around with that too as we start to format this. So let's jump into that. Okay, we were working with your message to us. Oh, that's why I got 2 messages. No wonder. Oh, just kidding. No, this is the one that is set up. So let's just disable that one for now and work with the one that we're creating at the moment. Okay. So back down. Now we want to go ahead and format when we start out, we can, let's see, I'm going to go ahead and give you guys access to this crazy doc that I'm using. Hopefully it's not too confusing. And like I said, I will recreate it into an actual update in our Google group, but I just feel like it might be helpful for you guys to see what I'm talking about and not just as I add it. So let me share this with y'all. What are we going to call this? Email template building. All right, so where's the chat? Okay, so that's what I'm working off of. Whoops. My screen went down. Okay, let me close some of this stuff. Okay. Okay, so I will definitely give some more context to those links and things, but right now I'm going to focus on the table and headings and others. So those 3 for now, we're going to be adding what is the table to contain it all and the different rows and cells. And then we're also going to be adding at least one header. We want the top of the message to stand out and be kind of the eye-catching point. So we want it to be bigger and bolder than the rest of the text, so we can use headings. And then the others, they are just different formatting stuff. So if you wanted to create an unordered list, an ordered list, and then like Liz said, for each list item, those are the LIs. You can use strong or EM for bold and italics respectively. And then that last one, image source, we use that one. And the href is for a URL, a link. And we're actually going to start with that one before I get into the formatting. So the image that I have down in the bottom, I do want it to link to my homepage or to wherever. So I'm going to contain that image tag within an A tag being the linking tag. So
Maurice, if you took all this text and copied it into a regular page and then switched to WYSIWYG, could you put in, I mean, it would just treat all these tokens and stuff as text. Could you then make it much easier to format it than to have to know all the tags?
Oh, I see what you're saying. You could. I will say though that you would only be using what's available in WYSIWYG. And
Right,
what we're going to
right.
be talking about is a little bit more than what WYSIWYG offers, but yes, that is definitely an option. So let me show that off too before I keep going. So what Liz is saying, if you did, instead of, adding your own HTML, if you did want to instead go to where you have a WYSIWYG window, it could be anywhere, but I'm just working with the actual draft of this same web form. And just to make my life easy, I'm going to add a brand new formatted text box. And like she said, we copy this over. Some of this is going to look crazy, but it's fine. The only thing I will say is the images you do probably want to build yourself, or actually I'll talk a little bit more about it. Okay, so anywhere that you have these HTML tags, you can remove. Since we're working in WYSIWYG, those are like just going to show up as text. And so we do have actual paragraph breaks. So now let's just format this a bit. I did want this to be heading 3. Let's italicize that. Let's do that. Or actually, yeah, that works. And then as far as the image, we can actually still use WYSIWYG for it. So as we usually do, just find the image, select it, and drop it in. And then one thing we do need to do before we can copy the HTML, we need to use the eraser on the image, remove formatting. So make sure you have it selected and remove formatting. This is going to break up the way that the media browser generates the URL for this. It's essentially making it an image tag again when we use the eraser on it. Let's see, I'm trying to think of any other formatting we can do. We could also add it to a table. I probably should have started there, but let's do that as well. And thank you, Liz, for this suggestion, because I hadn't even considered this this way of doing it. It's definitely much easier. I think we'll try to do every single step here. So I want to add a table, essentially this being one row. This can all be another row. And then the logo will be in its own row. So just 3 rows, 1 column. Okay, I do want to make it centered. The alignment has to do with the table where it's going to sit on the page. If we do want the cells inside to be centered, we do have to do that per row, I believe. So I'll insert that. And now I'm just going to copy and paste what I have. Yeah, I don't think I can drag and drop. Okay. And this is going to be row 2. And then we can do the same thing with the image. And paste that in. Okay. This down here, that's fine. We can just avoid that at the end. I have a little heading here. There we go. It's just going to be an extra paragraph line at the bottom, which is not the end of the world. Okay, so this is similar setup as to what I had. Okay, so let's just keep going with what we were doing. The link URL. let's just do that. All right. And we'll make it a title so that when they hover over it, they kind of have an idea of where they're going to go. Okay. And then the other thing that I did, I added, oh, we were going to center. So we can center each row by the alignment. No, it is actually by the class. So this alignment won't make a difference since the entire table is aligned to the center. I'm just gonna remove it to remove some of that HTML. So we center that. Oops, why is that not centering? Maybe let's try the cell properties. And the class is center. There we go. And so I'm just placing my cursor into the cell anywhere. Since this is all the same cell. So table cell properties, and the class is centered. And now that I'm centering this, I don't really like these bullet points. I'm going to remove those and actually just do a line break. So on my keyboard, I think it's Shift Enter. Whoops, I'm going to take that back. So Shift Enter. And again, Shift Enter. Actually, sorry, I'm just going to leave your subject and the value of that on the same line, and then your message being above the actual value of the message. Okay, and then now I think the last thing that I had done was set the color of the top row and the bottom row to try and recreate them as a header and footer. Because one thing I realized during my testing yesterday, there is a tag for table header and table foot, but it is not universally recognized. It jumbled up the order of my rows when I viewed it in Outlook and Gmail. And I would imagine any other email program is probably going to just be not as pretty. So it's better to just work with each row individually and then format them as you want. So for my cursor being in the row that I want to change, I'm going to click Table Row Properties, and we're going to go to Advanced. And I am going to set a background color. I had done the League Blue. You can always pull up the League brand standards to find that. But I am just going to go with one that's already here. Let's just do that. That looks similar enough.
Oof.
It is not the prettiest. The only thing now that I've changed that color, I'm realizing I'm not able to easily do in WYSIWYG. We can't change font color. So that would have to be done in HTML, or I could choose a better row color. So if you aren't needing to use a particular color, we could just go with something light that is going to be, I don't even know. Let's go with a yellow. That's going to be nicer to read. Well, we could do that the same here. It really depends on how you're trying to set that up. If you are going to add a row color and you have your logo, I would just recommend having a logo that is not transparent, because I think part of our rules and the brand standards is to make sure that the logo is, I don't know, something about the background colors I've seen before on the brand standards. But that is essentially what I had created. Let me see if I can bring up that example again. Yeah. So that is essentially the same as what we have here. I guess I did add a thank you message, but that's simply done. Especially since we're working in WYSIWYG, you just have to type it in essentially. And then I made it bold and italicized. Okay, and then I think, let's go ahead and test this and we'll see what the difference is. So now the step to be able to get it from WYSIWYG into our actual email template here, we can either do disable rich text or go from WYSIWYG to full HTML. Either one is fine. And we get the entire HTML. And okay, I just want to make sure that our tokens still look as they should. So since I did add that image, I can just take everything and add that in. Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't think I centered the logo, which is fine. What we had done was use the cell properties, but that's fine. We'll pretend like I did do it. And we don't have to like break anything up. I'm gonna go ahead and save and test it. Let's send that to Gmail. Okay. It's looking a little crazy in Outlook.
Oh,
Definitely not what we're looking for. I'm not sure why it did this. We'll check out the HTML, but let's see what it looks like here. Nope, that was 20 minutes ago.
oh,
Okay, so that was the other thing too. We did not specify the size of the image. So definitely the WYSIWYG way works, but you will need to remember a couple of things to tweak. Definitely the image size, that's really one of the only things you'll need to do after. Because then, yeah, there goes the top of our message. It looks nice, but that logo is showing up as its full size, as 7,747 pixels wide. So we definitely don't want that to happen.
You would have thought it would have been contained by the table.
The table doesn't have any specified size either. I wonder if we would have put 100% in the table, if it would have contained the image. Let's try that.
I was just trying to get people so they wouldn't have to do all that HTML
No,
themselves.
yeah, and I love it. I'm all for it. So
Well, except it's a little bit off.
and if it's just a tweak of one thing, that's not too bad. So let's try setting the width for the table this time, and open quotes, we're going to put on 100%. And this should contain it to the width of the screen. It's probably not the best solution though, now that I'm thinking about it, because desktop users are going to still see a big logo, but it's just going to be as big as their screen, which is still pretty big. Mobile users, it'll probably look pretty good, being that their screen is about the size of the content like area anyway, the part
Well,
that
why
they're
don't
reading.
you just change the image source into
And
make
add
it,
the width that we had. Yeah, we
Yeah.
could do that too.
You probably could have done it with some of those advanced settings too, maybe.
With the image, we unfortunately can't. The table, we can do stuff with the advanced settings, but for the image,
If you constrained the table width, wouldn't it have to fit in there? I don't know.
That I don't know. But I think it's probably best to make the image width and height static rather than the table static.
Uh-huh.
All of this stuff, it comes in from the WYSIWYG side. It is totally fine to just leave. The only thing is that it may make your email longer. So if you feel like you have a lot of stuff in your email, you could clean it up by removing what is added because of us working through WYSIWYG, but it's not going to mess anything up if you do leave it. So we have the image source. We can wedge the width and the height in here anywhere. So we can see that most of these start the same, right? It has the attribute name, which in that case is alt. This is source, SRT, data dash delta. Then it follows with a equal sign, and then the value, whatever it is contained within quotation marks. So we're doing the same thing. We're just going to wedge width somewhere in between those attributes. I think we had put 400 as our width. This is from the aspect ratio calculator that we were just using. And I'm just trying to remember. The height, I believe, was 76. So we've specified a width and a height so that the image will stay a static size for the most part. Smaller screens will render it a bit smaller. And then the table width, we've specified to 100% so that this message here, rather than the yellow going from left to right there, it's going to go from left to right across my screen. What's dictating the width right now is this sentence. Whoops. Oh gosh, that long sentence. Our general will reach out to you as soon as possible at. Being that this sentence is as long as it is, that's why our table is as wide as it is. If the sentence was shorter, then the width is just going to go off the next longest sentence. So by doing this, we're specifying it needs to go across the screen. Or we could say 50% or 70%, whatever we wanted to say, and it is only going to span that amount of the screen. So I'm going to save that and test it out again. Gmail. And then we'll talk a little bit about styles, because we had talked, I mentioned that earlier, and that's one of the things too that will allow us to change our font color if needed. Okay, yeah, so I didn't center the logo, which is fine. But we probably do want to do that. It looks like for some reason or another, this cell, this row did not center either. I know that the logo, I just forgot to do it. So that I know the reason why, but this one, for some reason, it did not center. So those kinds of things, at this point, it's probably easier to tweak in the HTML, but just know that you always have the option to go back to, you know, a WYSIWYG paragraph box and keep editing from there. Well, actually, let's show how to do that. Because if you are at this point where you've put it in here and you didn't save it in a WYSIWYG box, let's show how to, oh no, we still have it here. Okay, so if you were working that way where you don't have it saved, all you would have to do is come back to your template, copy what's in your template, and then wherever you are in WYSIWYG or in your edit draft, you would swap to full HTML and paste in what you have. And then we can see it, whoops, and enable rich text. So once you swap to WYSIWYG, you'll be able to see what you have. So I'm going to go ahead and do what I wanted to do there. I'm not sure if that's going to change the color to just be containing around the image, but we'll test that out. And now I can't remember what else I wanted to try. Oh, the centering here. Thank you. So, it is showing up as centered. So I'm not entirely sure why it is not. Let's see if I can try and center this row. Okay, so I'm not seeing a visual difference since the cell was already centered, but I did apply the centering to the row, and I was able to tell by the addition of tr.center down here. TR represents the table row, TD represents the cell. So it's fine if it's doubled up on the centering for this cell and row, being that the row is the cell. We're just going to see if that makes the difference that we were looking for. Okay, so I think those were the changes we needed to make. I'm just going to disable rich text and copy this. And let's come on back and replace it. Okay. Oh, and I will open it up in Gmail this time so we can see it from there. Am I typing backwards? Oh.
I need help.
I was making myself laugh with that yesterday too. You know, anything to help the workday go by. A very cryptic message. No, this is the old
Isn't
one.
that crazy? Gosh, it just doesn't want to center it.
So I wonder if we tweak it. I'm going to just go into the HTML and see what I can do directly. Because I will say when I was creating it yesterday, I was only working directly here with the HTML, and I was what was I doing? I was centering the rows, and so I don't know if that has anything to do with it. So we have the top row is centered here, align center, and it's attributed to that tag. Let's see, the next TR tag is here. Okay, so it's a class. I think that's the issue there.
Well, that's what you
Class,
chose. That's what you chose, though, in that little table. I mean, that, that box.
right.
That
And
isn't what, yeah.
And so this is another example of where the WYSIWYG may not be the best option for this type of formatting. The class seems not to be supported by the email programs. It is something that we have on our site
Yeah.
because we have the CSS enabled or, added for this specific class. So instead of class, we just want to change the word to align. And that's, I think, all that's going to make the difference. We could even get rid of, or we don't want to get rid of the whole thing. We could actually leave this tag as is, but this here is not necessary. It's not going to break anything, but it's not going to do anything. Not going to make any difference there. So, okay, that's problem solved there with the centering. That's not too bad. So far, if you are creating it in WYSIWYG, we've come across a couple of things. You do have to specify the width and height of any images, preferably using your aspect ratio calculator to keep it looking nice as it should. And then the table alignment works perfectly for our emails. So that's fine. But as far as the rows or centers within, if you want the text within to be aligned in the center, then we got to change that to align. So that's not too bad.
Well, I'm not sure the text reads so easily when it's centered. Most people, go to the edge, turn to when they go to the next line. The
Yeah,
left.
it's definitely up to each person, like, each league's feeling on it, especially when your content is different. If you're going to have a whole lot more on the page, you probably want to set it up differently than somebody who's just like, we got your message and that's it. And, it's just a quick little confirmation. So you will want to tweak around with the formatting as you'd like. With the table alignment itself, now that we have the width to 100%, this is also not really necessary. If you did have the width set to something else, then, or if you just didn't have the width there at all, then the center alignment does actually do something and moves it to the middle rather than by default being left justified. Okay, I think I made the change. Oh, I think we wanted to align the image row. So this is the last row here. Let me just change that to align. Okay. This yellow is definitely a lot brighter, but I do want to show off, like I said, the attributes, since if you are going to work with, why does it keep going backwards? I don't understand why I'm typing backwards. Where's my insert screen? There we go. All right. Okay. There we go. So it was just the alignment. And I'm noticing another kind of formatting default for Google and Outlook. It looks like their heading 3 for Google gives a bit of a font color change. And then Outlook just gives a bolded serif font. Well, I guess everything is a serif font. But now let's go ahead and tweak it some more. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close that. Now we're going to work with, we added a heading, we added the table. The tag attributes. We did a little bit of that. So let me make my way back to the email template. Okay. Let me actually try and move some of this around to make it a little easier to read. Okay. All right. That's just a little easier rather than the big block of text that we were seeing. So the tag attributes, we can add, I'm just going to go down the list of what I have on the doc. We can add an attribute for cell spacing. This is for the table itself. So the cells can have some space in between each of them, being that they are in this table specifically, I only have rows, really. The cells are not next to each other, so that cell spacing, I don't really find useful. I don't need my rows to be further from each other. So, you know, that's available if you need. But then the cell padding, I am going to actually add, that is the space within each cell. So how close your contents within the cell are how close they are to the border of that cell. So by default, there is 0 cell padding. But I am going to paste in the cell padding that I have for 10 pixels. And then the border, we have it set to 0. All these values, like border, cell padding, and cell spacing, they're with pixels if you're just putting a number. Then align center, we have that one. You could also, being that the default is aligned to the left, you probably don't need to put that, but you could also force set that. The alignment, rather than center, you could put left. And then the style attribute allows us to style HTML elements. So the style allows us to edit like the any of the headings, like the paragraph breaks. You'll see that in what we pulled from WYSIWYG, we have a span tag here that has some style, has a style attribute. So I'm going to go ahead and use the style on our row here. This row has a background color. It's pretty light. Like I said, the colors, you know, our league colors are darker, and so the need for changing the font color to white was greater. In this example, I'm just going to leave the yellow, bright yellow color there, but we're going to pretend like making the font color white is, you know, good, is what we want to do. So we do need to apply the style attribute to a specific element. So we could apply it to the header, but that is only going to go for this line only, being that that header element closes right here. Or I can tack on to this style for the row, being that this entire row is what I'm focusing on. So this time it's going to be a little different. Actually, let's see if I can add the color. This I'm actually testing. I've not yet added the color, font color to the row. I'm just typing in simply white. So before I tell you that this is exactly how it's done, I'm going to test it out, because I will confess in my testing yesterday, I was adding the font color to the paragraph line and the heading line, but we want to try and make easy work. Okay. So we can see that it does apply it as we wanted. The only reason that this one is not taking that font color on is because it is a heading 3, and Google does have formatting rules, obviously, for their heading 3. They have heading 3 style already enabled. So that's one thing to consider. If you are trying to change the text color, it may not apply for certain heading styles. Let's see how Outlook came about. And then Outlook is different. They did take the color change, the font color change. So that is a live example of different email programs may show up differently. And that's just how it is. So yeah, it's not the worst, especially, I mean, again, if we were pretending that this yellow was not so stinking bright, this would look great. And I think this also would look pretty fine. But again, it may not be exactly what you're trying to get. So to tweak this, if we still wanted that effect of a heading style, but we obviously, you know, want to have the text appear white, we can just remove the heading style. So again, we added the color, and instead of adding a brand new style, because that attribute's already there, after the attribute that's already there, there's a semicolon. I just added a space, and then I added my attribute color, colon, white. And these are within the style attribute. So we're kind of going down another level. And so, okay, so I wanted to make sure that this heading does show up in white. I'm going to change this first to P, and we can make sure that it shows up as a bigger font. It may not be a heading style where it's like an outline and you know that that's that header. It's not going to serve in that same purpose, but it will still just be bigger text than the rest. So it still would be eye-catching. So for P, we're going to add the style. It's an equal sign and open quotes. And this time it's going to be font dash size. And just as we were building up the other ones, inside the quotation marks, we have to add the colon, and we just need to add a pixel size. So I think 16 is probably good. And for the font size, we do have to add the pixels, and then our semicolon and close quotation marks. So we're seeing kind of two different ways of building our attributes. We have what's inside the quotation marks and then what's right outside the quotation marks. And when we add a style attribute like that, we only have to add it to the opening tag. This closing tag doesn't need any change. It knows to still present in this font size. Okay. Since I only want that top line to be bigger, I'll leave it like that. And let's test that out again. Okay, so did we get that through? Yeah, I think, yeah, that is it. I don't know why it's still showing up as non-white text. Let's see what Outlook says. Okay, yeah, Outlook has stayed the same. It looks exactly like what we just saw. But let's see if we can figure out why
You know,
is not supported.
I think you're getting too much in the weeds.
I think at this point, yeah, the
I mean,
color I think is fine.
yeah, because I mean, there's a lot of detail to this, and you could go on for hours. Um,
Yeah, and
I had a more general question,
mhm.
and maybe somebody else does too.
Yeah, we can open it up
Yeah,
to questions. I
do
think
you mind that?
I think we get the point of all that can be done with the template.
Right. Thank you for doing that.
No, thank you.
Well, my question was, I'm using the slides more than I used but that means I want some priority to the order in which they, maybe each week there might be a different order depending on what's happening with the election. And as I understand it, we're kind of stuck with using the creation date, right? Or can you give us any? I asked Mary Jo what they were doing because I know they use the slides a lot. So I see
Mhm.
she's asked. Um,
Yeah, it is unfortunately still the
oh,
mixture of the creation date and then sticky. Using those in tandem, you can have kind of a priority list and then what would follow after that.
okay.
We changed the date.
The
Make it-
creation dates.
Yeah.
It's pretty. You have to be really,
You know, that's what Mary Jo taught me.
but it's pretty tedious, right?
Not really.
Well, maybe you have you're more systematic somehow. Do you keep a record of what your creation date?
Oh, I don't know. Can you guys see this? I have a whole page when I reordered 15 slides.
It is, yeah, it is easier to have it written down since it's a lot of moving around mentally.
Yeah, I gave her the orders and she carried them out. I have no idea how.
Yeah. Oh, yes, ma'am. No, but and then she's going, no, I want this one before it. And I'm going, fine.
Well,
But yeah.
you did the front page really nicely. I mean, your tech people. How difficult would it be to provide that functionality based on some of the work they already did for reordering things on the front page?
I think it would be its own set of work. I don't think it's going to overlap with the work that they have already done. I can bring it up, but I don't know. I wouldn't imagine it's going to be a small project. So I don't know the true possibility of it.
Well, in this case, a lot of that stuff's going to come down. In fact, actually, I should take that one down. The Hispanic Heritage, just, yeah, take that down. But like a lot of them are elections, so we'll be taking those down after November.
Yeah, well, it certainly won't be solved before the election, but it is tedious.
Yeah, well, that was the thing, I kept saying, Mary Jo, we have too many slides. She goes, they'll come down after the election. Because I think 5 or 7 are enough, because most people aren't on the front page that long.
Right.
Well, then there's people like me that, if it's the first time I've been to something, I might look at all of them, but that's just me. But I had another question too. Are you through with that, Liz?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, stay on my page and go to the front page. And then it's about 4 or 5 down, the articles. The one we just got the thing from Turner telling us about, yeah, right there, get candidate information.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so read more. And so I've got, the links from the URL for the videos, but I also think it's fun. And Jennifer and I disagree on this, so we're providing the link and the show. But one that I did more recently, I was having trouble because the video came not as close as this one did, and then I worked with DIV and Paragraph, and I think that's happened. But what I wanted to ask was, when you have something like that, what I was going to do was just keep adding, because it keeps giving you a chance to add it. the embedding. And so then the videos show in a row. And I guess I wondered, is there a way, and I don't know that I would do it because it might not look good, to put the this video, the YouTube thing, like, right after the link, and then you'd have the next movie with the link, and
Oh, I
then you have the
see.
video. I don't know that that would work that well though, because you might miss some of them. But anyway, do you understand my question?
Yes, like if you wanted to get candidate information and then the video thumbnail right next to it. I think the only way to do that is with a table.
Oh, okay, forgot it.
Yeah, I believe that when you add a YouTube video, it's always going to be on its own line. So to get around that, we add the table and add the YouTube video to its own cell.
So if I just worked on get candidate information, I have got the link, then I put the movie. So there would be no way to like start another part of that page with the second video, so that they're separated.
But I think we looked at mine where I have a whole bunch of videos on my for former events, wheatonlwvil.org, but I use a table too, where you can have multiple videos embedded. Is that what you're asking?
Well, I was just wondering if you could have them separated.
It's under
with
an event.
text in between.
Well, go to recorded videos of past events. So that these should start filling in.
Oh yeah, is it
And
something like this?
Well,
So
that's
is that
not,
just a table?
Yeah.
Mhm.
it's just
And you
a
just,
table.
and you just insert the URL?
yeah, no, I get that, but this was just, this is one article, and so there are only 4, so I'm not looking at something altogether.
Were you hoping to have the link and then 4 small thumbnails to the right of it?
Well, see, these are 4 different videos, so I was
Uh-huh.
thinking, so I've got the candidate information. That first video is candidate information YouTube. And then I was saying, is there a way then after you see the video, or you look at the video, then underneath that box is, the link to the second video and then the YouTube.
Somehow you're replacing the first one with another.
Well, I wouldn't be replacing it. I would be having altogether 4 of them, but they would be, the first, the first video with the link, and then
I think I understand.
Yeah, she knows me.
If you
She knows
use the table, you would set, have the title like you do with a hyperlink. And then you could also then put right below it
Yeah, I think I know what you're
They-
saying, because they'd be within a table. Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do that.
within a row.
Yeah,
Oh, well, I do think you have a minion who do it for you.
no, I don't think it's worth it. I mean, we've got the 4 links right here. And then we'll
Yeah.
have the 4, if people want to, go right to them, they're right one after another. But I do want to, you're right, you reminded me though, Jennifer, what was the one that I did that we were talking about that I could send her to, because they're so close together? Oh, darn it.
Are you talking about the forums?
Well, whatever it was, there were two in a
It's-
row.
It's voter education forums.
Oh,
It's up on the, yeah, thank
This
you.
one?
Yes, voter guides, candidate forums, something. That's that,
oh,
and I have a confession to
oh,
make.
yes, you're right. I know. This
Page-
wasn't an article. Okay.
Yeah. This is the page that I inadvertently
Yeah, that's
deleted.
okay. So go to voter guides, candidates. Oh, you're there. Or, yeah, okay, so go down a little bit. Okay, oh, great. This is what I'm talking about. Is there a way, I mean, could I have avoided having them so close together? Or is that just the way it is?
No, you can add some text in the middle of there. It might make sense to add a heading to each of them and just say what the video is.
Okay,
I don't have I'm not logged in or masquerading as you,
yeah,
but
yeah, okay.
yeah, you can add
Well-
a heading at the top of that. And then the same thing, once you place your cursor after this YouTube video, just hit enter. If it doesn't go to the next line, then click the eraser key. And then you'll have the line in between there to start typing.
Okay, I'll try. Thank you.
I know a lot of folks left. I will include this in our in the update that I wanted to post, but let's see, can I go to a red and blue site? There was, I don't know if folks remember, there was a bug that was happening with our button formatting. That's not a purple and gold. The button formatting, when you would apply it with center, it would just left justify. So like if you had text that was centered and then you applied button, it would jump over to the left. We had fixed that for purple and gold sites. And then we realized that it was happening for red and blue sites as well. So that's fixed now. And I just wanted to show it off. I thought I had a button here already. And there we go. Yeah, so that is now an addition. Yeah, I don't think I have the button anywhere else, but we have that. And we will, I'm trying to work with our tech team to help kind of reprioritize our tickets, because I have thrown a lot of them at them over the past few months. So these meetings always help me to try and clue into what y'all are looking for. And so I can try and better reprioritize the tickets for them.
Is there any way we could give input besides what we've given so far? I mean, like.
Now, what's number one?
Send a survey of what's most important to us.
Well, we definitely can take suggestions and feature requests always. We will never, turn you away and say that we don't want to hear that. We will be honest when it's needed and say that we may not be able to, take that on. But we always want to at least keep an idea of them, keep them around in case, magical money just drops into our lap. But yeah, I can include that in the update as well to let folks know if they can drop any suggestions. That would be great. But right now I don't have an ultimate list of what we're looking at. I know that from what has come up in our meetings, we are looking at the quarter size issue, the bug
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
that we were talking about. And then we are also, it just fell out of my mind.
I know too.
I'm looking to get more information about if the toggling of the title for a slideshow is possible.
Oh, yeah.
I just don't know if that's doable yet or not. So once they get back to me with that, then we'll be able to see. If it is quite a heavy lift, again, it's just going to be something that we might have to reconsider and look at all that we're trying to do.
Was there something about dates though? Or did we kind of, something on the front page with the dates? Is there, Liz, weren't you talking about?
We did
Just
have
easier-
something about event dates, I believe. But I did put that one on hold for now. I think it had something to do with how an event date was displayed. I can't remember what the details were, but it was
But I
something
think
about
you
that.
can, I think you can see it now though, right? There's, I mean, it's not
Like-
in your face, but it's part of the,
Let's see if I have
I'm
an
pretty
event
sure.
here.
well, I meant when you were refiguring on the front page.
Yeah, but the date is there. They put it
Yeah.
right after.
Oh,
Yeah, so that helps.
Yeah, the manage front page. Oh yeah, I can't see it here because I don't have an event, but it does give us the event date if we have one
Yeah,
promoted.
yeah. So maybe that was the answer. I don't know. I don't remember.
How about this getting those that information from the US was wonderful. But they never, but the action items, could you get them to buy into putting the action items? But now that they're see the power of what they can do for us?
Well, I don't know. I don't know how easily they can be persuaded on that. I actually, I say that and I don't even know. It could be us as well. Like we could be the roadblock on that. But all that to say, yeah, I'm assuming all parties involved are probably fine with the process we have because they don't have to do anything as far as, you know, doing the big heavy lifting to make that work.
You do the heavy lifting.
Yeah, and it's not too heavy. I do have y'all to help me too, because I know, especially Jan Dye, she will help and remind me. I try to have reminders, or I set a reminder for myself every Monday, but if they post stuff during the week, I'm not looking every time. So I think so far we do a good job, but it could be worth bringing up to see. I know it's going to be a different set of work because whatever they did for their, you know, blog and newsroom stuff, it may be kind of recreated for action alerts, but I don't think that they're able to just kind of copy and paste. So yeah, I'm not sure. I know it was between both of us, so it would have to be both of us agreeing to it again to make it happen.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. I will
Well,
say
great
though
work.
that with the action alerts that I create manually, the upside is that there's an image added because when it comes from the National League, I don't think they use images for their action alerts.
Uh-huh.
So
Well,
that's one difference there.
I
Yeah.
think I just use the league, the official thing.
Oh,
if I've ever
that's
done
probably
one.
smart too, because
Yeah,
then it probably
that's
gives
safe,
the
yeah.
visitor context.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do
Well, I
they have
certainly
to be
didn't
published
I'm not
for-
putting the pressure on you. I mean, I didn't mean to be. I thought
Yeah.
Oh,
I
no,
was
no
hoping
worries.
cooperation from the national might have helped you.
Does the national email out their action alerts?
Some of them, I believe. I don't think they do it for all of them because well, actually, I don't know.
I don't know that there's really that many. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't receive too many emails as far as their action alerts go.
So maybe that's what we can do. We can sign up under our league email.
You can, but then you'll only be receiving those to your inbox. And
Right,
What-
but then we could, then we could transfer.
I
don't
see.
know.
Well,
I don't know that there's a
if-
way you can do that.
and as far
Okay.
as that, I'm more than fine with continuing to do it because if I create it at the LWVUS level, then it trickles down to everybody and it saves each individual webmaster the work of recreating. So
Okay.
But
We're
the latest one seems to be March 2022.
Oh,
do they have any newer ones?
Well, I don't know, because this would be where I tend to look.
Yeah, and the thing I like about our MyLO ones is that it has a date. When it comes to the National League's actual site, I don't think their action alerts have a date. Yeah, I think this is the last one. Tell your representatives that you want equality to be part of the Constitution.
yeah.
And you know, there may have been another after that, now that I'm thinking about it, but I think it was their email and I don't know.
Yeah, when I Google it, I get the one you've made.
That's funny. Ours is doing just a little bit better than theirs.
Well, you know, this is interesting. I don't know what the date is, but I went to the main website
Mhm.
and I clicked, let me go back. At the very top, it says take action.
Mhm.
So you click that and there are 4 things there. And I remember this, root out dark money. I do remember that. But I don't know, you know, if it came out as something, although how else would I have seen it? But I don't see any, let me go all the way down. Let me see if there's a date on it. Yeah, I don't see any date on it. So I don't know.
Yeah, no, there is no date. And I try to create them as soon as, somebody tells me about them or as soon as I notice
Yeah.
them. So
Yeah.
our post date is somewhat reliable for that.
Uh-huh.
Just since the National League doesn't post a date. And I don't think even if we inspect it, I don't think it's going to have a date.
Huh.
Yeah, because that's confusing when it says today. And we know, the today is not really today. It was whenever the court actually made the ruling.
Oh, right. Yeah, that the message might be talking about something timely. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm not too sure. And that's another reason why those action alerts just stay on their MyLO site. I've just kind of been extending the time range because
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just trying to copy their site essentially.
Yeah.
Where is the statehood one? Is that there?
I think it's under all the US.
It's one of the 4 take action ones. It just happens to be in front of me.
Yeah,
Senate
but
Bill
where
51.
is it on when we subscribe?
I think it's one of the last ones here. Take action,
Oh.
support DC statehood. Being that it's so old, it's pretty far down there.
Oh,
So-
okay.
So they've
Oh, so
had
you
that
go
up.
to view all, okay.
Oh, we
Mhm.
have to go view all. Oh,
Mhm.
okay. Got it.
And
Huh.
I could even make those sticky, being that, these are the
Top
4
ones.
that they have. I could make those sticky.
That might be a good idea.
Oh,
Yeah, I can do that.
Well, wait, do the others think so?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I'm trying to mimic their site. So I think anything we can to make it seem like a similar experience, that'll work. Usually this would show 1, 2. I thought it would
See?
show 5, but I think action alerts, I guess, only shows 3 before you have to click onto all.
Oh, do you think we could, I mean, is that just a parameter you could change to 5 or something? Not a biggie.
I think that could be easily done. Let me just make sure, check on another page. California's action alerts.
Unfortunately, I have to go to a visitation for the husband of one of our former league presidents, so I have to sign
Oh.
up.
No worries. Thank you for
you all.
sticking around.
Yeah, well, Dearborn and Wheaton, we stick around.
Tried and true.
Okay, thanks a
All
lot.
right.
Bye.
Have a good one, Liz.
Yeah. Thanks
Okay.
again for, I'm glad that there is a cache that we could, a cache that we could have recovered my page. But Mary
Yeah.
Jo, I was so upset.
I'm sorry. Well, I mean, it being that what the subject of the page was, it probably worked better for you guys to recreate it because our team, I would say their turnaround time is maybe 2 to 3 business days sometimes. So
Yeah.
being that was election related info, you probably wanted it to be up there.
Well, that and, Mary Jo had, what happened, and I know now what to do, but what happened is we were working on the same page at the same time.
Mm.
And when I tried to save it, it wouldn't save. And I thought, well, I don't want to save this draft. I'll just, discard it. I thought I was only discarding the draft. I didn't
see.
realize I was discarding the page.
I see. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes it's a better lesson to learn it live. So
Yeah.
And,
Yes.
and
it
that was just one page. It wasn't like it was a whole.
Well, and it was a, comparatively simple page. If I'd gotten rid of the
Yeah.
front page, that would have been a huge.
Yeah.
I will say though, you wouldn't have been the first that has happened. And I know it must have been a stressful couple of days for the person, but we got the site back. Like it was pretty much, I think it was all the pages that she was expecting. So know that if it does happen, yes, you might feel stressed in it. You might not have the best feeling, but we could get the content back.
Yeah, groveling, you know.
No
is
no
just
groveling
interesting.
necessary.
Yeah. Okay. I thought Mary Jo might fire me, and then I thought, no, she's gonna keep me forever. I mean, you know, you just torn.
She's gonna keep you for even longer now.
Yeah, I got something
She's
over.
gonna make me, she's gonna make me do 30 slides of the front page.
Okay, I think we should let Amaris, I don't know how you do it, Amaris. As you noticed, I was out of video and everything. I was just, taking care of my desk. I had no idea what you're talking about. But I mean, it's so boring and so complicated, and you just keep so mellow. I don't know how you do it.
Well, thank you. I mean, part of it is having y'all here. It
Yeah.
definitely helps. I very much
Oh, yeah.
appreciate y'all attending these.
Well,
Okay,
thank you very
I'll
much.
let you go.
Alrighty. Well, I'll be in the Google group soon, but I'll see y'all in 2 weeks.
Okay, thank
All
you.
right, thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye.